This episode of Practice Security brought to you by planners, and passions. Alright. Welcome, Practice Security. I'm getting cash right on hospital. I'm sorry. Thank y'all for coming.
We have to go with understanding.
Yeah. Tonight we're going to be talking about for those who are hoping to see Punk Spider. Our friends are in Ireland, so we're gonna hold off on that one. We're gonna come back to that at a later date. So I'm really excited about that one because they're really excited about that one too. So, but I figured since we were gonna do something else besides Punk Spider, it'd be really topical tonight and do something that's in the news kind of recently and quite frequently, and that's been a ransomware and Cryptolocker. You heard of? I know you probably heard about the one out in California, right?
Yeah. At the hospital.
Yeah.
I had a client get it 3 weeks ago Monday.
So you're very familiar with it. It's one of those. Here you're intimately aware of how hard this can hit people.
Yeah.
So what we'll do is we'll get through this first. Again, for those who haven't been here, my name is Josh, aka the Untitled Hacker. This is all kind of my stuff. You can read it. You can go to my website, untitledhacker.com, which this will be up on in a couple of days once we get it all up. And you can follow me on Twitter at UntitledHacker. So what are we going to talk about today? Did I really spell that crypto? No, I did not.
You did on the first page.
Did I? Okay, that's fine. I'll go back to it. I will go back and fix it on the show notes after we're done.
There's more important things. You're good.
Yeah.
So what we'll talk about tonight is we'll kind of just go over, the basics of ransomware and specifically Cryptolocker. That's a brand of it, if you will. Ransomware is the variant or the species, and Cryptolocker is a specific subspecies of it. We'll go over the types of attacks. I do not have a live demo for y'all tonight for a couple of reasons. One, I didn't want to have to try to do a Cryptolocker on my computer here, because if it got loose and got on my computer, I'm in trouble. And if it got loose on the network here, I'm pretty sure there'd be at least four people who would beat me at the submissions. I went ahead and found something that demonstrates it very well, and we'll go through that. We'll go through some protection and defenses, and obviously some takeaways. So at any point if you have any questions, please stop me, raise your hand, all that good stuff. You don't really have to raise your hand. So yes, Mark.
You mentioned Cryptolocker is like a brand thing.
Yeah.
Is that just, what do you mean by that?
So you've got Cryptolocker, which is a type of it. Another variant, and I've got a couple of examples of stuff I've actually dealt with myself. There's Cryptolocker, which is pretty common. There's CryptoWall, which was one of the first incarnations of it. There's something now out there called Blocky. It's another type. They all basically do the same thing. They encrypt your files, and then they force you to pay either through Bitcoin or something of that nature. But we'll jump into that here in a second. Cryptolocker's kind of.
It's not tied to any organization.
It's just how it works, more or less. I mean, they all essentially do the same thing. It's just how they go about it. And there's little variations in whether you can decrypt or not. But we'll cover some of that in a few minutes. So, any questions so far?
No, it's cool.
Cool. All right. What is ransomware? I said that we've got a couple of examples of this. I've actually run into this a few times. Ransomware, years ago when I was working at a university, we had this professor who they like to go out to specific websites. We'll just leave it at the specific types of websites that people like to go to when they're single and all that stuff. So glad you're picking up what I'm laying down. And back in those days, it was very common for certain file types to be infected with this. And what would happen is you get this lovely little, hey, you've been encrypted, or your stuff's been ransomed out, your computer's locked down. And sometimes they would take a picture with you your webcam, so you'd see your picture right there. It's like, we've got like all this porn on your computer and all this child stuff that's really, really bad. And you're going to jail, but if you pay us $300 right now, we'll forget about it. So it looks really scary, and this guy really freaked out. But other than that, we got it off. The difference between this and what I'm going to show you in a few minutes is that this was fairly easy to get rid of. You go in through safe mode, cut it off, or stop the process, go in, unroot it from wherever it was sitting, and Bob's your uncle, you're good to go. I said, basically everything went over. Malicious software demands ransom. This one was a little different because it didn't require Bitcoin. It was something called MoneyPack. I don't know if anyone familiar with MoneyPack. It's kind of like really, really new age Western Union. That's all it really is. So actually, here you go. This one actually shows you the screenshot if your camera was there, but that's where the genesis of CryptoLocker type software comes in. So the next incarnation you get, or the next brand, if you will, is CryptoLocker. What that would do, and what that does is it encrypts your files, takes your files, it'll look for very specific files, and it will encrypt it with 2048-bit RSA parity. And then certain types look for certain things. The one that I was most familiar with went after, or the one that I have a little bit of experience with, went after Windows-style file extensions. So PDFs, like it says up here, docs, WPS stuff. It would look for those and would encrypt those. It'd leave everything else alone because it wouldn't go after file systems, because if it encrypted file systems, your computer never come back up. And then you would be stuck with.
Yeah, the one my client had, that it encrypted everything and then renamed, added MP3 to the extension.
Exactly.
So if it was a Excel file, it was XLSX dot MP3.
Yeah, that's a newer type of incarnation. And again, they have variations on that do different things depending on what they're trying to accomplish. And most of the time, they just want your money. It's basically a drive-by. So usually, main vector for coming in with CryptoLocker, or what we'll talk about later, CryptoWall, was an email. You get a fun email that would say blah blah blah, and I'll show you an example of that here in a second. It would say, hey, we're FedEx, you've got a package that needs to be delivered, go ahead and let's open it up and we'll see your details, and then boom, you're locked out. Targets all versions of Windows, and me and Brian are actually talking about this today on our walk and talk, our one-on-one, that there's a new variant out there that is affecting Macs now. Mac has actually patched it already, but it affected the BitTorrent client. What's the name of it?
Transmission?
Yeah. So what happened was somehow, and they're still trying to figure it out, somehow not the most recent, but the version before had CryptoLocker on it with a Apple signed certificate. And it got out, and a lot of people downloaded it and locked out a lot of stuff. Unfortunately, it was poorly done, and most people could get it off really quick, and Apple was very, very responsive to getting this fixed. So the honeymoon's over for Macs on ransomware. So there you go. And then again, since most people are familiar, Brian, you're familiar with it, is there's no way to decrypt without either doing one of two things. That's either hopefully it's run through and it's decrypted. Something like FireEye is able to decrypt it.
So there are ways to
decrypt it, but we'll go through that here in a few minutes. There's websites out there, FireEye. They do a lot of research into this kind of stuff, and they're pretty good about if it's a known variant or they're able to decrypt it easy enough, they're able to break the code, because you can actually dig into the code and find out what they're using, compression rate and all that, and then you can reverse, engineer that on their site, and it's really cool stuff. But sometimes
we get the keys that way.
They're able to reverse engineer the keys if it's poorly coded. So, but most of the time you have to either pay or submit. So we'll do the next one. Some recent ones that were in the news. We talked about the one over in California. That one's not up here, but they wound up paying like $17 grand to get the files unencrypted, which was they were without their files. A hospital was literally without their files for close to 2 weeks.
That's crazy.
This whole hospital was shut down. So you're talking about moms and dads, grandpas, new babies that are unable to do anything, and people could have died over this. And I think
I read a story where one lady had to go like an hour and a half away to her mom's doctor to get a hard copy of the patient records and take them to the hospital so that they could treat her, because they couldn't.
Did you hear that on the radio?
Huh?
Did you hear that on the
NPR only.
Ah, gotcha. I heard that's where I heard mine too. Yeah.
I believe I was listening to y'all.
But it's the same thing. It's one of those people literally could have died over this, and there may have been some deaths indirectly related to this, but they wound up paying, you know, 17 grand to unlock their files. Cryptolocker, like I said, you know, as of 2013, British people. I like to pick on the British people. I'm sorry, it's just that was a funny story. If it would have been Canadian, it'd been even funnier. Kidding.
Well, what do you think? Is that higher or than other parts of the world, or what's your? It seems like a loaded.
It's a little higher.
It seems high. Like
All right.
31% seems crazy high.
So given the time frame here, 2014, you know, as opposed to 2015, 2016, where more people were paying. When this stat came out, this was actually one of the highest stats. People nowadays are. It's come out that more and more people and more companies are actually paying.
Which is making it, we're probably trying to come up with new ways to do it.
Exactly. It's becoming more profitable to do it. The way that you kill this is by not paying, but people are, you know, they're in a bind. Literally, it's one of those, I either lose my files or get them back. It's easier to pay.
It's like spam. Everybody says they never buy anything from spam, but obviously somebody is.
Because they keep doing it. Absolutely. And the other thought here is that and the other thought here is that more and more people are getting what they call hack insurance, or, you know, breach insurance. So insurance companies are actually providing you coverage over your breach. So if you get breached, they'll actually pay it if it's an actual breach. So these people are seeing this and they're like, it's profitable now because people are going to get it. And if they've done a phishing campaign and they've kind of got that attitude that they know that, they're going to try to launch this and make it really profitable. So, and then, oddly enough, we're talking about Bitcoins. Bitcoins is a great way to do this cryptographic, or you know, anonymously through, you know, cryptographic currency, and make it fairly anonymous. So that's preferred medium there. So, like I was talking about, there are specific variants to this. There's CryptoWall, which again I'm really familiar with. A previous company I used to work for. What happened was we have if you want to think about it, and I'll draw a picture for you real quick. Picture time. So we had our main HQ building here, and then we have all these little spokes that are our remote locations. Okay, you know, we have about 50, 55 of them. Okay, and so in each one there's a central server. Okay, the central server holds, you know, local files, you know, pictures of grandkids, you know, my contact list for best clients and stuff. Nothing mission critical, you know. It's local sources. They don't, so because all these places, you know, you're back in the day we only had T1 lines, so trying to transmit that all back and forth was, you know, it was eating a band. So, you know, you build right here and it keeps the local stuff, you know, the stuff that's not really mission critical. So, well, over here was another company that was, we'll just say it was acquired through our company, this company here. And it had a lot of stuff there. They didn't use their little branch or remote server like everyone else did. They actually put mission critical data on there because that's how they had always done it, and we didn't want to mess up how they were doing things because we were in transition of getting into them. So we have our friend right here. We'll call him John. John went to one of his favorite websites. John got a spam email because they sucked down his email address. They sent it to his computer. John, not knowing anybody, clicked on it. Infected his computer and all of his share drives, which came back to here, completely locked that server out.
Now, which thing was this?
This is a.
Which malware?
This is CryptoWall.
That's CryptoWall.
This is CryptoWall.
Gotcha. That's why you know so much about it.
Right. That's exactly why I know so much about it. So somewhere in the neighborhood of $50 million worth of business was locked up on that server. So me and 4 or 5 other people spent one Saturday getting in contact with these buttholes who did this, and we gave them, we caved. We absolutely caved to that, and we paid them what amounted to $350 for the Bitcoin. So We got our files back. It took about 55 hours to decrypt everything because it's super slow. It happens that quick, but it's super slow going the other way.
Yeah. Was there a concern that they were gonna not give you the keys?
There's always that risk that they'll never do that. You give the money.
$350 sounds cheap though.
Compared to what it was. Absolutely.
Relative to the value.
If they knew how much value you had there, they could have charged a lot more.
Right, and that's the thing.
Which says they didn't really know what they were getting into.
Again, this was more of a drive-by scenario.
Okay.
You know,
It just happened because of a random.
because of, well, again, we'll call him John. Now,
John did his business.
John did his business, and he should have known better. And this particular John had been taught better, and he still refused to listen. So I'll leave it at that. So
I got you.
we'll leave it at that for John. But so that's what CryptoWall is. Now CryptoWall is an old variant, and its encryption has been deciphered. And so if you get hit with it, it's fairly easy to get your stuff back without pay. When it hit us, it was CryptoWall 2.0, which is an unknown variant, and absolutely wrecked us on that. And so that was a bad day for us.
That's pretty much what happened in my client. Anything that guy had right access to, any shares that he had right access to, it
owned it. Absolutely owned it, because yeah, you're right, because you've got this share. Mercifully, and I'm going to say this very, very well, is that the other computers that are attached to this didn't get hit.
Right. And that
was best case scenario, because it just so happened that I was there remotely that day working on something else. He called me into his office, and immediately when I saw this going down, I was like, okay, unplug his computer immediately from the internet, from the network. You know, damage had been done here, and so I ran into the server room and took that off immediately too.
Well, the way I found out, the way I knew what was going on, was I get an email when someone has a configuration error with the CRM system that I built.
Okay.
And so when they open up the CRM system and if they had any sort of configuration error, I get an email.
Okay.
And so I got the email, and when I saw the contents of the email were all
Gibbered up.
Yeah. And I immediately sent Jeff an email. I said, we got a problem. You know, and I knew exactly.
So if you don't mind asking, how much did you wind up paying? Yes.
Nothing.
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 You were able to
because we unplugged his computer, and then they pulled the Friday night backup of the shares. This happened on Monday morning.
Oh, cool.
So they pulled the Friday night backup of the shares, put that back into place, and basically gave him a fresh computer. And within 2 hours, everything was right back where it was.
So he didn't lose any more.
Yeah, caught it.
Good. I mean, so that we're actually we're gonna dive.
It was everything.
Now, did your CRM system kind of save it
In a way, it's my notification of a user having it.
I didn't.
That's pretty sweet.
That's actually really cool.
Yeah, that says a lot.
Yeah, and you know, it was first thing on Monday morning. I called you. I'm like, we got a problem. You know, and I sent him the screenshot of it. I said, you need to unplug your computer
Right now.
And then I drove there. I'm on my way.
Perfect. I mean, that's about the best cases you can get right there.
Yeah, it was a good, bad scenario.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. Perfect. Again, there's certain variants. You got the more traditional one. You know, you got your stuff's going to get deleted after this. Then you got the really exotic ones. I really don't know what the Russian guy is saying, but I just know that it's not nice. That's actually a thing from Resident Evil, the worm-based guy. So again, there's different variants. But you know, most of the ones you're going to see, unless they're completely targeted, like I was talking about earlier, you're going to see a lot of drive-by stuff, which was what happened in that case, and which sounds like what happened in your case right there was just a drive-by kind of scenario. I mean,
He opened an email.
quick and easy.
Isn't it funny that email is just such a a common and just fantastic vector? I mean,
It takes
over and over, email is the vector.
It takes advantage of the human firewall. That's what it takes advantage of. I mean, it's simple enough to get past that. So it's like, why try to bust through a Cisco, 2800 or whatever you have, you know?
You're going to go through the weakest spot.
Exactly.
That's basically what it is.
Yeah, people. I mean, people.
Yeah, people are going to always be the weakest.
People are trusting. So
People are buddy.
So CryptoLocker. Again, we kind of touched on this. Starts off with a couple of different ways. It starts off as an email. Come in. It'll look very, very odd. This is very similar to what we saw after we investigated our friend John. Again, I'm using from example what I understand. This was very similar to what he saw in his email because we traced it back to that. And this is very, very similar, this right here, to what he was seeing. So, and then he was done after that. I mean, he opened up and bam, Bob Jumper. So, let me plug my power in real quick. I apologize. There we go. Again, this is similar nature to what we saw. Breaking it down. If you look at the header of any email, it's gonna be a lot more revealing to you than say just looking at the email itself. So actually cracking into it will give you this right here. And again, if it's just a drive-by, then it's bad luck. If you're targeted, specifically targeted because they're doing their research and they know what they're looking for, they're going to be very, very specific, and they're going to know who they're looking for. I do a lot of phishing campaigns. It's a company I currently work with to try to teach people what to look out for. And recently, I've targeted our HR and accounting departments because there is a variation of,
which is also a common target I've seen people use.
Yeah, so what they do is they target specific people within HR or within accounting with an email that looks like it's coming from one of our CEOs, which has happened.
Yeah.
The CEO that was coming from no longer works there, so it was pretty easy to be like, why in the heck would he be asking that question? But the same concept applies when it does come from the other guy who's still there because they learn. Because again, it's a target. They're looking at us. They know what they're looking for, and they came after the other guy, and immediately that person in accounting was like, "What's going on here?" They called him immediately and said, "Did you send this?" He's like, "No, I did not." So she immediately called me. We got the header information. We started investigating. By the time we got to the point where we find out where the email came from, the actual address, it's a Gmail account. And they've already disabled it. Yeah. I mean, it's a dead end, but
it's just like a rolling phone call where you get a phone call and then you try to call them back, boom, it does.
Disconnected. Yeah, absolutely. It's the exact same thing.
Same concept.
It's a cat and mouse game that unfortunately we've lost. So it's just a matter of being vigilant to these things.
This title, the subject lines are great because they look legit.
They do. They absolutely look legit. I mean, so what we have,
I especially like my resume.
My resume.
That's my favorite.
Mm-hmm. So this kind of gives a breakdown on how a CryptoLocker infection will happen. Again, the infection takes, no joke, 10 seconds. To decrypt it takes hours. Literally hours. So you can substitute CryptoLocker, CryptoWall, whatever you want to say. The CNC server that's out there, it pairs off those keys, makes copies, makes encrypted copies, deletes the originals. Files are starts, it looks for everything, encrypts files, bam, you're done. It's over. And that's one of the other really nasty things about CryptoWall that we had was it would take the files, like I said, create an encrypted copy, delete the original, and then when you decrypt it, as you're decrypting it, it's using its decryption software. It's actually putting in little entries into the Lord. I'm blanking on the registry.
The registry.
It's dropping these little callbacks in there. So if you go to any website that may not be infected, but is controlled by them, it's going to kick off that infection again. So you have to be really careful, especially with that one. That one was particularly nasty. So
it's staging you to get hit again.
Exactly. So what you do is once you get unencrypted, the best thing to do is get those files off, just burn the machine basically, and build a new machine.
Okay. That's pretty much what they did.
Yeah, I mean that's what you have to do, but you have the benefit of having a backup.
Yeah.
But, and I'm going to say this just to really mess with you, and I'm sorry, but there's there's another variant out there that will actually look for VMs and backups and snapshots and encrypt those.
Yeah, that's awful.
So what you have to do is, in reality, you have to go with more of a 3-2-1 backup style. You familiar with 3-2-1? 3-2-1. You have 3 backups. 3 backups. 2 are offline, or two are online. And then you have 1 that's offline. So like a tape backup, or USB backup, all your critical stuff, and it just sits in a drawer somewhere, and when you make a change, you back that up. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So that way, if one backup gets killed, you have redundancy for nothing. But if both of them get killed, my God, what happens? Okay. I use this in my personal life. I've got several backups of my computer, like all the stuff that I don't want to lose, my pictures of my kids, my W-2, stuff like that. I have them on 2 different locations. What? That's funny. You're funny. I like this guy. We're gonna keep you around.
I haven't seen the check now.
And then I have a 1 terabyte drive that I have everything backed up to, and then that's actually sitting in my dad's house, down geographically separated. Yeah. It's I back it all off, and every time, and every 6 months or so I'll go and I've got a couple. I'll just give them a new drive and I'll take them back.
Well, one issue they did run into is they had a disaster recovery site in Atlanta. Mm-hmm. And so every 5 minutes, this system is monitoring for change data blocks.
Yeah. And
it's locking it down here. So during that period of time, while his machine was encrypting all of his files and shares, those were being changed blocks, and they were being sent to, But once again, all that got squared away. Once the backup was restored, it all flowed back down and just slowed down the whole process.
So you can immediately see the benefit of that 3-2-1 setup right there. So I'll actually put that link in the show notes about that new type of malware that's doing that. And that actually provides an argument for security in depth, having multiple different ways to protect your data. And then just some really nice looking pictures of Cryptolocker. So.
Yeah, I recognize the screenshots from the web.
Okay, so let's talk about this for a second, and then let's tie this into Thursday nights. So.
Are you talking about Bitcoin?
Yeah. Okay. So let's say I got hit, and I don't have a Bitcoin account. I don't have a Bitcoin wallet. So what's the flow on that?
All right. So I'll go back to the example that I used here because we were in a very similar boat. The reason they brought me in was because I'm 25, 26 at this time. Hey, you're 25, 26, you must know how to do this with Bitcoin. Okay, whatever.
Have you ever done Bitcoin?
I've never done Bitcoin at this point.
Yeah, but it's not too bad.
So what we did was I got a wallet, went to one of the sites that had a wallet, one of the reputable ones. My CEO of the company was there too. He was very upset and very non-technical. He's a business guy.
Yeah. You're being extorted.
Really?
So no one's happy about being extorted.
But
it's equivalent to the mafia coming to your door and saying that if you want to stay in business, we'll protect you. You can't give us money.
But the fact that he didn't know what was going on is so much worse because he keeps
It's almost like one of your competitors sending an employee there to apply for a job and getting hired and finding out all the information.
And he probably thought the cops should be able to catch him,
So he was wanting to call the police and all that.
Yeah.
So we got a Bitcoin wallet. We pulled out his credit cards. We went to one of the exchanges, one of the faster exchanges, because the thing with Bitcoin is it takes a little bit for that exchange to happen.
Yeah.
Which one of the faster ones that allowed for, same hour. If you got
usually pay a little more, but
oh yeah. It was, again, 350 Bitcoin what he offered. I wound up paying close to 1,000 at that. So there's a little more story behind there of why, but I'm not going to go into that. So we got that Bitcoin that day, and then we went to the link that's provided, They gave us a Bitcoin wallet address. We put that in, we said we want to transfer 1 Bitcoin, and we did. And then we had to wait. So again, some of the exchanges take a little longer, like up to 24 hours, which we didn't have, which we didn't want to wait for, or he didn't want to wait for.
So then how did they notify you that payment was accepted and
We waited. We waited till we got an email.
you got email?
We got an email. We waited.
And that's there, because now you're getting another email.
At this point, again, it's one of those, and we told them it's one of those, there's no guarantee that they're gonna, this is gonna work. I mean, they could just run away with the money and still, and just delete our key at that point. We figured they probably weren't, because again, it was a drive-by.
They do this all the time.
They do this all the time. I mean, it's gonna sound weird, but they were very professional about it.
They're not savages.
They're not. They were not. That's the thing. They weren't out to screw our lives up. They just wanted some quick. It's like eating ramen on the street. Someone comes and
They're not going to kill you, but they want your money.
They want your wallet. If you give them their wallet, guess what they're going to do? They're going to go that way.
Yeah, yeah. They don't want any more trouble.
They do not.
They just give you your wallet.
Give you your wallet, and that's what they want to hear. And mercifully for us, that's how it worked out. I have heard instances where they are straight up savages and they're like, and then walk off with the stuff, and you're stuck holding the bag.
That money is still worth trying, I guess. But
In our instance, it's very much worth trying to do that. So,
yeah.
So,
I just didn't know what the flow was, especially in a situation where you don't have a wallet, you don't have any Bitcoin, and how much does that store up?
Well, even today, there's a lot of people who wouldn't know how to do Bitcoin.
Oh, yeah.
Like until last Thursday, I had not done anything Bitcoin. I've had plenty of friends that had,
Yeah.
but I've been interested in it, casually interested, but just kind of like.
I don't have any.
Right. Well, I've got like $11 worth of Bitcoin out on the wall. Just and Jacob, he like first timers, what he'll do is like I gave him $10 cash. He kicks in. He'll always kick in like $1, kind of your first timer bonus. And he sent me so I got about $11 worth. And but we got to follow the process, and I use my Android phone because we were trying to use it also to demo in front of other people. So we were showing a particular app that he wanted to use.
Okay.
Which was cool. I don't think that app's on iOS, but they've got similar ones on iOS. It's just, this made it a better demo because we were seeing the sending and receiving of the same app.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I can't say I understand everything about it still, but it was really, and like I said, the video's out there, and I know the audio is not as
There's some
it's on YouTube.
there's some paperwork out there too.
Yeah, there's two. If you want to take one. Probably there's 2 packets he brought, and I left them in here because they figure people would dig read them.
Yeah.
So I noticed the other day.
I'm running fun about it. I follow things on Twitter and Google Plus and read the articles that
Yeah,
It's an interesting concept.
it's kind of neat. So one of the
what's interesting to me is the way the ledger works, because it's all distributed, and everything has to back up. If I'm describing it correctly. All the entries have to match.
That's why it's preferred, because it's anonymous and distributed.
well, and that's why when you do a transfer, like up to 6 people have to verify that that's true to make it completely valid or something. But one thing, the coolest thing, real quick, I'll say about Bitcoin, and we'll kind of segue back, is that one of the interesting things that like people talk about it being an investment, and it can be because it's got some of the investment qualities because you certainly put money in, you certainly can lose it, and you certainly can win. But one of the things that's most interesting, so if you put, this is the thing I got out of it, I thought, if you put money in the stock market, if you go buy stocks, right? For me to use anything I make out of the stock market, I've got to sell those stocks to get cash, and then I get taxed heavily. So
at least they do.
right. So here's the thing. And I'm not saying this is like necessarily for tax evasion, but what I guess it's another angle I don't even want to talk for. But here's what's interesting about it though. There's more and more places accepting Bitcoin. So here's the thing. Like you could basically go in, buy Bitcoin. You just buy it. It's like buying stocks. If you believe it, you're gonna buy where it's at, right? And Jacob used the example, one of the people there for me used the example like Newegg, they Bitcoin. And so for us, like people buy hardware.
That all the time.
Yeah, Newegg, they sell about everything, right? And a lot of times they have killer sales.
Oh, yeah, right.
So here's the magic, right? The way I saw it from an investment standpoint was, the magic is if I'm going to buy, let's say I'm going to buy hardware, I'm going to buy one anyway, right? I need a hard drive or whatever. Let's say I don't have to have it a certain day, and I just have it on my list, you know, to buy, and I'm going to buy it when it makes sense on the sale. So when the Newegg sale comes on, and then when it aligns with, wow, my Bitcoins are worth more than when I bought them, then you actually are saving even more than if you would have paid cash. And that's a pretty interesting concept.
Did you go into the whole, how much it used to be now, or so much?
Well, he mentioned it. I knew that because I remembered I had friends at the day job that were even mining, and I was highly aware when it hit that huge spike. It was 600 and something.
Even more.
It was $1,000 maybe.
Yeah, it was like 1,200, 1,400.
Yeah.
I'm not mistaken. You know,
I think you're right. It was way up there.
And it takes as low as
Now it's around like 300.
I mean, it's going back up, but it's one of those.
It goes up and down, but it was like 421 a night. And I did it, but it has gone down since
Yeah,
then.
it seems to be fluctuating around 400 right
Yeah, the thing I didn't get out of it, which I'd like to learn more about, was what exactly drives that market. I understand, and I'm not, by the way, I'm not, you know, like a major, I don't understand all, but I haven't played with the stock market a little bit and all that over the years. I understand a little bit, just anecdotally and from studying and reading a little bit, how the stock market, what drives the stock market. Right. You know, obviously a lot of emotion and all that kind of stuff, but I do not fully understand what drives the Bitcoin value. I really don't, like, because.
Well, that's just like, I got a friend of mine, and, you know, just like Bitcoin's a currency, I got a friend of mine that when trouble hits other countries, he will buy the currency.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Hit it when it's low.
Because it's low.
hit it when it's low.
Yeah.
And then as it creeps back up, he'll
Sell it
sell
on.
back out and just take slim margins, but he's.
If you do it enough, it's like day trading. If you do it enough.
That's pretty much, he is day trading currency.
Yeah.
You know, based on
You just have to be,
world events.
that becomes your full-time job almost. You just, come on.
He works for Wells Fargo.
Yeah.
It's bleeding out.
He understands it and studies it. That's interesting stuff though.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But it's the same kind of thing, whether he's buying, you know,
Ugandan,
Bitcoin or right,
Ugandan,
whatever,
rubles, whatever.
they use in Niger or whatever, you know, it doesn't matter. You know.
Yep.
So.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. All right, thanks for letting us.
No, that's fine. I was
there is a security relationship with Bitcoin. So.
That's absolutely correct.
Yeah.
That's not really the whole bit of it. So there is one last thing that happens because the fun continues with it. It's going to slam you and beat you down a little bit more. This particular one, what we've seen with particularly Cryptolocker, not CryptoWall, I explained kind of a little bit where CryptoWall does a few extra things. Cryptolocker itself is known to interact quite well with Zeus before it got taken down. You guys are familiar with the Zeus botnet?
I've heard of it.
Huge botnet that encompassed thousands, hundreds of thousands of computers across multiple nations. It's kind of creeping back up a little bit now, but back in its heyday, it was massive, and they took it down and caught the guys who were controlling it, which was perfect. But there's some with this one, what it would do is it would install basically the worst case scenario for you. I mean, it was literally a Trojan horse, kind of, you know, the soldiers are in it waiting, and the soldiers, instead of being men with swords and knives and shields, it was cert stealers, password sniffers, injectors, grabbers, remote control, you name it. I mean, these things were just, I don't know if you're familiar with a program called a RAT, a remote access Trojan. A RAT, if you want to just really lose your mind tonight, RATs are programs that get in and they own your computer. If you have a webcam, guess what? I'm going to look on your webcam. I'm going to take a picture every 5 seconds of what you're doing. How about this? Even better. When you go to a specific website, I want to see what you're doing. No, you go to a website with this type of stream text in it. Guess what I'm doing? I'm watching what you're doing. I go to a specific banking site.
Is it for blackmail?
So
or just for?
there was a guy out in like Idaho or somewhere. I may be telling the story wrong. It was a story I read. The guy stalked a celebrity this way. She was Miss Idaho or something. He was, you know, what he felt was his true love. He installed a rat on her computer and watched her do everything.
Oh, wow.
I mean, like court documents, he was like watching her most of the day. I mean, it's like on a level of creep that's just like, you know what I mean? So
Maximum creep.
I mean, creep.
The Aaron Andrews thing looked like nothing.
No, exactly. It's one of those. The guy had the decency to stop that for a few minutes. This guy, yeah, they had to catch it. I mean, because you know, much like the guy in the Aaron Andrews case, he did the same thing. He released his footage because he's a creep. So mercifully, he's off the street and in prison. So takeaway from that is CryptoLocker keeps you distracted while you're trying to get your files back and install all this other crap on there and calls it back out to a command and control. So what we're going to do right now is I'm going to show you this quick little demo, and it's in another language. And I say it's in another language. The guy's stupid hard to understand, so I'm going to narrate it for you. We're going to blow it up for you. So what this is, and I'll give a little background for you. This is a Windows XP machine, and using something called Hidden Tear, which is an open source CryptoLocker variant that you can install yourself and build CryptoLocker programs with. And it also has HDF protection, which is an antivirus software. So you see it's currently turned on right now. So he's got Explorer to watch the process. So he's going to kick it off, and that's what we're going to see up in the bar here. So he's going to kick it off with HDF running. So HDF is running, and he kicks it off. But HDF is going to catch it, and it's going to stop it. So, you know, you take ESET, anything else that you use commercially at your company to block stuff, and see HDF is blocking that there. So rule of thumb here, rule of lesson here is if you want to protect against first line defense or second line defense, first line is always going to be the human factor. Second line defense is going to be your antivirus software, as long as it's current and as long as it's a known variant. If it's a 0-day variant, it's just out of block. I mean, that's just the skinny of it, is that if it's a 0-day, you're going to get taken. Sorry. So what he does here is he's showing, you know, that he wasn't, none of his stuff was encrypted because he had his up-to-date antivirus working. So showing DOS and all that. So there you go. Now what we're going to do now is we're going to go back out, and we're actually going to turn HDF off. So he's going to turn his protection off. And he's going to show, there we go. So now it's turned off. So we're going to run that Hidden Tear program again. So bring it up, come on. All right. Actually, he's going to show docs before he encrypts them. So this is an unencrypted document with CryptoLocker. And he's got a couple of shared drives. You saw those right there. So those are some shared drives, so we're going to wait to do that. So now he's going to run this again. Oh, stop talking in your language, please. And whoop, boom goes dynamite. There you go. Took just that long to do that. You get this nice little picture right here that shows, you know, what it's been done, how much it's going to cost you, and it gives you this scary little bit right there.
I don't know what that is.
CryptoLocker.
The scary thing is, like,
you've seen this before.
Is he going to delete?
Oh no! See, remember the file that was out there that was not encrypted? Encrypted now with gibberish 248, and now he's going to go back over to his share file and show that as well. So makes complete use of the emotional thing. What were we saying, Mark? I'm sorry.
Is the time, like, going to delete? Is that saying it's going to delete your files?
Yes.
Okay.
Most of the time, these guys keep. From what I understand, is most of the time these guys keep it because, you know, they're not going to be sitting there waiting 72 hours to delete your shit. You know, they've probably got, you know, 200 or 300 of these things. You know, and they're probably done. So yeah, exactly. And to boot, what they've probably got is they've already installed those, like I was talking earlier, that remote access Trojan, that rat. So they're probably already watching anyway, and they're watching your keystrokes. They know exactly what you're doing. They know you're freaking out. So they're going to wait to see what happens. So, and that's kind of That's kind of what you get with that, and then you get this, you get these nice little bits here and there, and then it just really nails it home for you of how emotional this is. Like, you're going to lose all your files, and it's going to be bad. So you need to do this. That Bitcoin wallet I was talking about, it usually shows it in here. It gives you this long address. It's like 64 characters long. It's just something god awfully long. So that's a very, very quick demo for that. I mean, like I said, that's probably the best way to show that. And that's available on the slides too, so if you want to go back and listen to it and watch the full thing.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Couple quick ways to defend yourself. First and foremost, security software. Like I said, there's, he was using HDF. There's, Norton if you're into that thing. If you're into Norton, there's ESET if you're into that. There's plenty of good ones out there. I personally don't. I know people that do use it. So, I mean, if you've used it and you're successful with it and it's updated and it's got all the current patches, go for it. Like I said, if it's regularly updated, it catches things and it's good, use it. And for every one that you have to pay for, there's probably 5 that you don't that are similar, if not as good.
What are you guys using on the Macs?
For me, I do not run any virus. I have run in the past. I do firewall stuff. I do more firewall stuff. I do more little snitch. I'm more aware of the. I try to be more aware of what's going on the machine. Not to say that I should as well. Antivirus always slows down the machine. It drives me crazy. Yeah. But
like I said earlier,
what's one of those antiviruses that's open source? I had good luck, but there's one that's pretty dang good. Antivirus.
When you want to run one on your job?
that right there is actually my company machine.
Yeah.
So the one that I'm running for my company would be
ESET. Yeah.
And it's updated quite frequently. So
and honestly, in corporations and even when I worked at university, Macs generally run antivirus in my opinion because of what. Predominantly, not to say there's not Mac viruses, and there are.
the honeymoon on that's over.
Yeah. Well, but there's been Mac viruses for a while. There's still not near as many.
They're not as prevalent. I will stipulate that. It's one of those. It's the ostrich in the sand type of mentality. It's one of those. I would rather have that slower machine than potentially something happen. But again, it's all negated. If it's 0 day, we just get out of it anyway. Again, it's one of those.
Right, and that's the thing. I'm trying to remember the.
I think I know what you're talking about, but I'd have to.
It's a free one, and it's been pretty good, and I think it's open source. Let me see. I do not believe I cannot remember the name of this. It is. Well, if I find it.
Okay.
ClamAV.
What?
ClamXAV.
ClamX.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with that one.
Yeah.
I got some
ClamAV that's I think open source. I think might be a Linux thing if I remember right. ClamXAV is like
the OS
that they run on Mac.
Okay.
But it's a decent one.
So a lot of this is depth and defense, so it's multiple different things to try to defend yourself, because Navy is only as good as the last update. Patch management, make sure it's up to date. Least privilege access. If it doesn't need to have access to something, it should not have access to it. There's no reason for your photo program to be accessing your firewall for any flippin' reason.
Well, that's not true. Photos.
There should be
photos out. I was all over the map.
That's why I said
it connects to Amazon.
Where is this line in the sand that you personally draw? That's what I gotta say. It's
I'm just saying.
These are all suggestions.
Yeah, I'm just saying that definitely the world, the cloud has really complicated things for us, because that's what kills me. Like so many of the apps I use, it's like I can't just go by the domain name host that it's calling, because Apple, Microsoft, all these guys they're using multiple sources for data centers and for all this stuff. And, you know, it makes it really challenging. Like you can't just go, oh, I'm in the Microsoft app, so it's at the Microsoft.com, and that sort of makes sense.
Not happening, exactly.
And Apple's even worse because Apple uses AWS, uses Azure, uses their own stuff, uses AT&T, uses, I mean, they're all over the place. So it's so confusing. Huh?
They have a spread across.
Yeah, they're spread across a bunch of stuff, and it makes it a lot harder. I mean, Microsoft's probably mostly doing Azure because they've got a pretty big infrastructure, but it's like, I mean, that's probably the frustrating thing I see, because I see all this stuff on Little Snitch, and it's just like,
You don't know what
you ultimately do your best, and Little Snitch is a lot to maintain, and you have to sort of know, you have to be knowledgeable about how things work. So unfortunately, it's not something you can recommend somebody that's not an IT person like us. And I'm sure sometimes I probably make the wrong decision on it.
Right.
You know, cool thing is you can always go back and look at a rule that you applied, and if you have a doubt, and say, well, let me check that out further. But
always go to Stack Overflow and ask them, because they're
I see a weird post, you can Google it and see what it's for, because that's the other thing too. You don't realize all of these machines nowadays reach out and do all kinds of things, and some things are okay, but some things you don't want. Like I'll deny Game Center on my Mac because I don't care about Game Center on my Mac, and I don't want it
talking.
I don't need it to talk. It's just a vector at that point, because somebody could exploit Game Center, even if it's legitimate Game Center. If I'm not using it, then I don't need to have it open.
Like the Mac thing that used an actual Mac certificate, which, by the way, has been revoked by Apple, but it legitimately used that cert. Yeah.
That's the other thing.
At the end of the day, it's one of those. It's all about, you know, you taking the time to understand the machine and the equipment that you're working with. So I mean, that's that.
No, you're right.
So you don't own a gun unless you should not own a gun unless you've been trained on it and know how to operate it, clean it, and thus take care of it. But it doesn't happen that way all the time. So
right.
Same concept.
It's a responsibility thing, sure.
Absolutely. So computer hardening, like we're talking about, you know what you have, know what's legit. Online security, you know, strong passwords, go into only trusted sites. Content filtering, Mark, you kind of talked, or Strap, you actually kind of hit that one where you said you do a lot of firewall stuff. So that's kind of in the same.
Yeah.
That's kind of in the same vein. There, it's like you're legitimately going into your router at home and you're blocking this, and this. Personally, I use OpenDNS on mine.
OpenDNS is awesome.
Yeah, I use OpenDNS.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's one of those. I just push all my stuff to OpenDNS,
and it's free.
And it's going to be.
I mean, I think you can pay to get some benefit.
You can get the next next level up, which allows a little bit more control. Yeah. But for my purposes at home,
for protecting your family stuff, the free stuff is pretty good.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's exact, and it's.
It gives you a ton of categories, and you can whitelist because there are times where it's like
it blocks
something that I want to go to, and so I'll whitelist it, and it's, you know, so it's kind of a pain if you have much of that going on, but you know, it's only happened a few times. Their filters are pretty accurate.
Yeah, they're pretty smart.
You can report if something's like labeled wrong, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and like all you have to do is make 2 changes, and that's into the. Well, in the router that I have, I had to make 2 changes. I had to use. What the heck was that? I had to make one change. I had to make one change where I said, "Yeah, I'm gonna use these DNS servers here," and then I had to actually plug in the 2 DNS servers. Bam, good to go. Now, even if you don't sign up for the service and you just want to filter it through there, it'll actually, generally speaking, it'll make your web traffic a little faster because you're not going through your ISP, which is just where it could be anywhere. Yeah. Generally, with OpenDNS, it uses the closest, so there's content filtering there. And again, like we said earlier with 3-2-1 asset protection, make multiple backups, make them often. A backup is only as good until you make a change to a file. As soon as you make a change to a file, that backup is obsolete. These are just some you know, Windows specific things we've kind of touched on. I'm really glad, Drop, you're here to kind of speak to some of those little snitch stuff like that. This speaks a little more to the Windows side of things, because again, that's what the Cryptolocker, crypto wall that hit us was that. So This comes back to system admin. If you have a good system admin, then a lot of these are already taken care of. If you don't have a system admin or have someone that doesn't know what they're doing here, then you're opening yourself up to a whole world of trouble. Again, the reason we got hit so hard there and it didn't hit anything else is because the computers that they were on were administered by a very smart system admin. It was that one server which we inherited, which we hadn't gone through yet, which allowed that to happen. So, and then again, like I said, just some basic stuff. Any questions on those? All right. Takeaways. Don't click or open on any unsolicited or unusual emails. Human firewall. That's all it is the human firewall. Don't go to anything that gives you any of the heebie-jeebies. If it gives you the heebie-jeebies, move on to the next thing. Like I said earlier, what we did with this, with one we had, if you open a malicious email, disconnect the network immediately to prevent communication with the CNC server. If you get it quick enough, which is what happened with you, you got to it quick enough that didn't have your computer checked by a security professional, which you did, because you are the security professional.
No. I just happened to get the email.
But
It's a little scary.
you were able to evaluate,
Almost as soon as I saw it.
evaluate, address it, and then adapt to it and get it over. So yep. See a ransom note, take a screenshot, check the security professional. Since it may not be Cryptolocker, it may be, like I said, ransomware, which is simple enough to go in, open up safe mode, and rip it out by the roots, man. God, pray that it's ransomware, because if it's scareware ransomware, hallelujah, it's easy enough to take care of most of the time. Turn off the computer immediately, remove all USB drives, disconnect the network to prevent it from spreading. And then there's the to pay or not pay. If you still get hit, do you pay? Do you not pay? It's a decision that only you, the person who owns it, can make. So one other thing, like I said, VMs, make backups. You know, whatever your preferred backup medium type is, do it often.
Yeah.
Best scenario there. Questions, concerns, cries of anguish.
I don't want that thing. I don't want crypto to do anything. I want to avoid that at all costs. That's
again, luckily with Crypto Wall 2.0, it's a known variant now, and it's pretty easy to break. It's pretty easy to decipher. I'll show you. Actually, I'll actually go to the website that we attempted to use. No, what was it? FireEye. FireEye. What was it though? So, and I'll show you this, just because it's good information. Well, they no longer do it. Huh. Well, I apologize. Used to be what you could do is you could go here, and it would say, please upload one of your encrypted files. And if it was a known variant that they had already busted through, they would send you back a decrypted file that would spread through and get rid of all that stuff for you.
Oh, wow.
It used to be. It was pretty cool. It's pretty cool stuff. But unfortunately, they're not haven't been doing it since 2014. The infection that happened with us at that previous company, it was a while. It was like doing Crypto Wall. The more recent example, and I'll share this with you, is mitigated very easily, like you said. It's taken care of very easily. No lateral movement because it hit this person's computer. Tried to move laterally, got blocked by ESET protection. Tried to move to share folders, same thing. Stayed right there contained. Hit that one computer. We took that computer, took it out back, pulled a office space on it. I mean, unfortunately, she was smart enough to back all her stuff. She lost about a week's worth of work. But considering the alternatives here.
And that was a good thing on his machine too, is everything in his documents directory had been backed up over the weekend.
Perfect.
And so
yeah, that saved him, man.
And
it saved him how quickly
it was all about time.
exactly.
It truly was. It had happened on Tuesday.
Yeah.
3 o'clock on Tuesday. A whole different ballgame.
World goes
Yeah.
goes hell real quick, yeah. Any questions?
Well, and it wouldn't have been that bad, but it would have just been more of a setback.
Yeah, no, I
Because
completely.
they still have good backups and still have a plan for handling it. It just would have, they would have just lost more than that.
Well, cool.
That's good.
All right.
Sir, Federal Hacker 2016.
All right.
That's awesome. Thanks for doing this, Josh. We'll have the video up shortly.
All right.